Hello, good day everyone. In compliance for MTM 214 Sustainable Agri-Ecotourism, my task for today is to discuss the role of ecotourism in sustainable development. So please bear with me as I am going to present its subtopics. So I have here the topic outline, starting from introduction. What is ecotourism and its types? What is sustainable development? Concept of sustainable tourism development, activities of NTOs related to sustainable tourism development, ecotourism and environmental, social, and economic impacts, ecotourism and sustainable relationship, ecotourism examples of implementation, problems and issues in sustainable tourism, and conclusion and recommendations. So let's begin with introduction. So ecotourism is a subcomponent in the field of sustainable tourism. It aims to conserve resources, especially biological diversity, and maintain use of resources which brings ecological experience to travelers, conserve the ecological environment, and to gain economic benefit. So from the word sustainable, ecotourism plays a vital role when it comes to environmental conservation, biodiversity protection, and ecological stability. Through the engagement of tourists or travelers, it attributes to our economic development. It's just a matter of educating them and local people about the proper utilization of natural resources in order to sustain it. What is ecotourism? Ecotourism is a nature-based tourism that involves education and interpretation of the natural environment that is managed to be ecologically sustainable by the National Ecotourism Strategy 1994. So based on its definition, we can say that ecotourism is merely focused on the natural attractions of an area that needs a deeper understanding on how to manage it. Generally speaking, it focuses on areas featuring plant life, animal life, and cultural heritage. Ecotourism is also defined as responsible travel to natural areas that conserves the environment and sustains the well-being of local people. And that is from International Ecotourism Society 2015. So, in this definition, we can view it as a means of limiting or reducing the damage caused by traveling to natural areas while trying to leave a positive legacy. We can be able to achieve it by increasing awareness towards the conservation of natural and cultural assets among locals and tourists through sustainable practices. So now let's proceed to the types of ecotourism. So according to Fiel, ecotourism exists with two vast types of tourism such as mass tourism and alternative tourism. So when we say mass tourism, it is a traditional form of tourism development where short-term free market principles dominate and the maximization of income is paramount. It can be measured in terms of employment and infrastructural earning from transportation and also foreign exchange earnings. Meaning, so it is a kind of tourism, yung mass tourism na tinatawag natin, which there is a huge gathering of tourists in an ecotourism destination and creates huge impact upon its carrying capacity, which includes the assembly of visitors or tourists going to a similar destination at the same time of year, and likewise considered as the ease approach to earn more profit in the destination and marketed as a package tour. However, due of a large quantity of tourists or travelers going to the destination, the quality also became low due of the overcrowded that caused degradation of the environment. Next is the alternative tourism. It is a genetic term that encompasses a whole range of tourism strategies that is appropriate, eco, soft, responsible, people to people, and green tourism. So that is when you are compared to mass tourism, this type of ecotourism, which is the alternative tourism, is the best option and has special attention to economic, social, cultural, and environmental considerations with neutral or positive impact on its destination. And it has five subdivisions, such as cultural, educational, scientific, adventure, and agri-tourism. Cultural, where people explore certain places to learn the cultural attraction. Educational, when you tend to visit a place for learning the different aspects for acquiring knowledge and collecting evidence for any research project. Scientific naman, where you visit a place for any scientific knowledge acquisition like visiting an ecotourism park with various mangrove species and by identifying its scientific name and how they grow and exist. We also have adventure when you explore and experience different adventures or riskful activities such as hiking, trekking, skydiving, and so forth. And lastly, agritourism that explore and experience nature, such as visiting agricultural fields, graveyards, farms, etc., and learn the process of food production. Okay, so before we will proceed here to sustainable development, so with the two types of ecotourism I have mentioned, we can say that yung mass tourism and yung alternative tourism has a big impact when it comes to sustainable development. So therefore, it depends on how we manage the existing and potential natural resources where local communities must be involved or partake in its development and conservation. So moving forward, what is sustainable development? Okay, so we have here. So when it comes to tourism, this term always exists and is very important since it represents the keywords. And what are those keywords? These are sustainable and development. Sustainable development is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It ensures a basic quality of life for all people and at the same time protects the ecosystems and community systems that make life possible and worthwhile. That is, in terms of development process, the actions that must be taken to create, manage, and maintain long-term sustainability in an ecotourism destination is to consider the economic, social, and environmental impacts, addressing the needs of visitors, the industry, the environment, and the host communities for both current and future sake. Like, for example, we should share our natural resources not just with people who are present today, but also with future generations. Thus, for sustainable development to be achieved, economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection must be interconnected. Next, the concept of sustainable tourism development. So first, the concept of needs, in particular, the essential needs of the world's poor to which overriding priority should be given. It explains that when it comes to sustainable tourism development, the approach must be concentrated on what is really important. Like, if the needs are to conduct rehabilitation due of environmental crisis that affects the livelihood of the local communities and results to economic instability, then it must be highly prioritized since our goal is to promote sustainability, including the poverty alleviation. Therefore, preventive and or corrective measures is necessary. Second concept, the idea of limitations imposed by the state of technology and social organization on the environment's ability to meet present and future needs. So here, it explains that setting limitation is a good factor to prevent environmental abuse, such as technological development should be input safely and effectively, and the social organization must support the advocacy in regards to environmental conservation for present and future needs. That is, the formulation and implementation of the policy can set restrictions and guidelines on how to become sensible and responsible individuals or groups. So we have here the activities of NTOs related to sustainable tourism development. But before that, what is NTOs? NTO stand for National Tourism Organization. It is a primary government agency that are responsible for the development of tourism industry in a particular country. In the Philippines, we have the Department of Tourism or the DOT, who is responsible for the regulation and promotion of the Philippine tourism industry. So its main activities are development of ecotourism and related tourism products, making mass tourism economically sustainable, support for voluntary initiatives for sustainable tourism, capability building, research, education, and advocacy, multi-stakeholder participation and interagency coordination, and providing financial support. Next, ecotourism and environmental, social, and economic impacts. According to Boyan and others, 2012, dimensions of ecotourism development refer to the environmental, economic, and social aspects of tourism development, and a suitable balance between these dimensions must be established to maintain its long-term sustainability. So here, there must have an integration and or interconnection among the three dimensions. And what are those three dimensions? So these are the environmental, economic, and social. Through this, we can be able to determine on how we are going to take in actions that support the ecotourism development towards long-term sustainability. Tourism can be sustainable if develop I mean if the development meets the needs of tourists and local residents while protecting future opportunities. Ecotourism entails a combination of conservation and tourism, the economics related with it, to benefit local communities, especially focusing on sustainability. Ecotourism is largely perceived to safeguard natural areas and thereby to contribute to the conservation of biodiversity. It also has the potential to seriously impact local communities, largely due to the tendency of ecotourists to have a greater interest in the culture and nature of the areas they visit as compared to mass tourists by McMean 1997. So I have here the diagram by Moyan et al. Or other and others 2012 that represents that the ecotourism development together with the three dimensions that incorporate each other, the social, economic, and environment. In social, it consists public facilities, local culture, infrastructure, people attitude, and lifestyle. In economic, it focuses on employment, revenue and tax, social welfare, equitableness, and income. Sorry for that. And in environment, it deals with transportation, traffic, preserve green areas, and biological diversity. So therefore, when it comes to management, balancing these three dimensions is very important in order to minimize the negative impact. Okay, so we are now in the ecotourism and sustainable development relationship. So tourism is a highly complex activity and thus requires tools to assist in effective decision making to come to terms with the competing economic, social, and environmental demands of sustainable development by Fadahonsin 2011. So here, with multiple tourism activities, it is really necessary to have tools, no, so that we can be able to monitor, evaluate, or assess its effectivity. More particularly, it can help in decision making that meet the needs and demands towards sustainable development. Ecotourism is often perceived as a tool for promoting sustainable development. It helps in community development by providing the alternate source of livelihood to local community, which is more sustainable. It protects the natural environment and creates social and economic benefits for local communities. Okay, so we have here the ecotourism examples of implementation. So ecotourism activities have been sorted into the following categories based on Economic Development Branch, BC Ministry of Sustainable Resource Management 2003. So here are some of the examples of ecotourism: marine ecotourism, land-based ecotourism, bicycle touring or mountain biking, horseback trail riding, hiking, backpacking, trekking, canoeing and kayaking, walking, camping, boating, hunting, sightseeing, swimming, cultural activities, observing wildlife and nature, skiing, and visiting historical places. Yeah, so I have here some pictures. No, marine tourism, land-based ecotourism, bicycle touring or mountain biking, horseback trail riding, hiking, backpacking, trekking, canoeing, and kayaking. Yeah. Okay, so next, problems and issues on sustainable tourism development. The concept of sustainable tourism development is not totally understood. So ito yung nakikita kong one of the problem and issues now when it comes to sustainable tourism development. This pertains to lack of understanding about the concept of sustainable tourism development in terms of, so dahil na-mention dito yung concept, so kanina no, I have also nasabi ko rin kanina. So, ito yung needs and limitations, which I already discussed nga in the previous slides. Then, there is poor coordination among the various government agencies. So, due of poor coordination and communication among the government agencies, it creates conflict and discrepancies that leads to unsustainable practices. For example, in the implementation of the policy. Then, tourism master plans had no local participation. Due of no local participation or intervention in crafting of tourism master plans, the result became short-term. And the local communities was being misled since they don't know or they have no idea about the tourism development in that particular destination that is now difficult to attain success. There is lack of enforcement and the penalties for violating environmental laws are very low. So because there is lack of enforcement of environmental laws, people are not afraid to commit mistakes or wrongdoings and become abusive that leads to depletion of natural resources and cultural heritage. And with low penalties for violations, those violators are being inconsiderate sometimes since they can afford to pay. With this, sustainable tourism development is highly affected due of its vulnerability. Then, lastly, reward systems and accreditation programs have also not been able to ensure compliance to sustainable environmental practices from the tourism industry. Conclusion. To conclude, ecotourism is a form of tourism developed in natural areas whose goal is to acknowledge and to appreciate nature and local culture, which includes conservation measures and ensures an active involvement and generating benefits for the local population. Ecotourism covers the sustainable tourism principles but differs from it by aspects related to aspects related to local community issues, interpretation for visitors to a particular destination, and the number of visitors. Tourism has a complex impact on the environment, but it is also generating both cost and benefits. And ecotourism contributes to increased revenues from tourism, but also to the positive social effects. We are now in the recommendations. So now that ecotourism has reached such stature, it is especially important to scrutinize its effectiveness as a strategy for sustainable development and search for ways to improve policies and practices. To provide sustainability in the ecotourism, it is necessary to know environmental, social, and economical effects of ecotourism activities and to consider these effects during the planning. Ecotourism should be seen in direct relation to nature conservation or protected areas with preservation of the authentic and involving local communities in all stages of the process. Development process is a lengthy process which requires a sustained effort from all those involved but can bring major benefits in the long term, contribute directly to the creation of sustainable existing target area by Roxana 2012. Environmental education and interpretation also is the key to creating an enjoyable and meaningful ecotourism experience and is one of the key points of differentiation between ecotourism and other tourism products. Successful interpretive components of ecotourism products will foster appreciation and support for conservation efforts, local communities, and culture. Okay, so I have here some of the references kung saan ko kinuha yung mga details and informations related to my report. So I hope this can also help. So before I end my report, let me share to you this wonderful quote from Jennifer Nini. We are not above nature. We are a part of nature. Since my topic is all about the rules of ecotourism and sustainable development, this quote is a simple reminder that we are one with nature. Let us work hand in hand in conserving our natural resources and biodiversity towards long-term sustainability and for the benefits for future generations. Thank you for listening and God bless everyone.